That's us. We're live. Welcome everyone to this Sporting Pride, promoting inclusivity and diversity in rugby event. I'm Eliza Downey and I'm very proud to be your host this evening. I hope everybody is safe and well. I hope you're all hanging in there at this stage of the game. And most of all, I hope you're excited about the fantastic lineup of panelists we have for you this evening and the hot topics we have up for discussion. So look, throughout this evening, you will have an opportunity to submit any questions for the guys, and we're hoping to get time at the end to run through these. So tonight, we're going to be able to get an insight into the history of the Emerald Warriors, an LGBTQ plus inclusive club based in Dublin, their exciting new strategy and what you stand to gain from joining the club, the benefits of rugby for participants, physical, social and mental, the work of the IRFU in promoting rugby and LGBTQ plus community participation in their sport. And finally, the visibility of LGBTQ plus community members in rugby with a focus on men in rugby. So as you can see, we have a jam-packed evening ahead of us. So without further ado, I am going to introduce you to our exciting panelists. We have the boys from the Emerald Warriors with us tonight. We have Cork man Phillip Purcell, 20 years rugby experience under his belt, but he's made the move from playing into becoming a committee member and now is vice president at the club. So maybe next steps are global domination for this man. I think we have him tipped for that. Next up, we have the Emerald Warriors' very own Derry boy, Eamon McConaughey, former captain of the Warriors. He's been a member since 2007 and has experienced a lot of positive change within the game. Eamon is the current treasurer of the club. And look, that is who you want your best friend to be in the club, the treasurer. So we're going to be keeping a keen eye on him tonight. Darren Morin, aka Morrow, is the current head coach of the Warriors. Darren has played all his life with Malahide RFC and was a big part of their historic win that brought them into All-Ireland League rugby. He's a former CRO for Leinster and brings all that experience back into the Emerald Warriors setup. He is also the face of Warrior Wednesdays, so we're going to be hearing a little bit more in detail around that later. And finally, last but not least, an old colleague of mine, the IRFU's Disability and Inclusion Officer, David Mckay, a role which supports the development of inclusive and diverse rugby and promotes opportunities for people that come from a marginalised group to access the game. He's also a Ballymena man with rugby running through his veins and a proud Ulsters supporter, which is very important when you're around the Leinster and Munster supporters here this evening. Okay, so look, without further ado, we're going to get into it. As I said before, feel free to pop any of your questions into the chat box and we'll hopefully get to those at the end. So Eamon, you're my first victim of the night. You'll be happy. Eamon, you love this, don't you? You love being on camera. Absolutely. It's your comfort zone, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. I'm just lapping this all up. Yeah, it's fantastic.
I can see it. I can see it. Look, Eamon, as I said before, you have been a member of the club since 2007. One of those kind of founding members, the stalwarts, the pillars of the club, as they talk about. Talk to me how the club came about, the background and some of the key milestones that you've experienced with your time at the club.
Yeah, I wish I was one of those stalwarts. There were a few years before my time, but I think 2003, there was, I'd say maybe 5 to 10 guys decided to join, or they formed the club. They would have had their first training session in Memorial Park, which would be an Island Bridge. So from small beginnings, we hope big things will grow. The club, well, of course, she says, I would have joined in 2007. But before we go there, I think for the club, it's important to understand the important part that IGRAP or IGR have, that every year we have a tournament that we can travel to, where on the even years, we'll go for a Bingham tournament, which is the World Cup. And every odd year, we'll go to the Union Cup, which will be the European equivalent. So it's something that you really look forward to every year as a club. And I know in my time, I've really enjoyed all these tournaments. I'll touch on my first tournament was in 2008, but as you said, I joined in 2007, and it was then that the club joined the Leinster branch. So that was another big moment for the club. Again, you need that continuous game to be competitive and to improve as a club. So having that there was fantastic. As I say, my first tournament would have been, it was in Dublin. We hosted the 2008 Bingham Cup. It was fantastic. It opened your eyes up to just a whole new world. My family came down to watch it. It was just a really, really big thing for me, particularly as I hadn't played rugby before. Rugby was a new sport to me. So the club has always been a great gateway for people that have never played the sport before. And in my time, I've had friends, people's brothers, work colleagues have all come along, and they find it a really safe environment in which to learn the skills of rugby. Like, I've played other sports. A lot of sports are transferable, but tackling the first time goodie tackle someday, it's a little bit daunting, so it is, but the coaches brought you through that, as did the older players. So it was just fantastic for me to have that. One of the key call-outs for me whenever I did start was that we started in Tyneman Park. So Dublin City Council would have given us that area to train in. You would have been bringing out the lights, setting them up from the container, wet mucky nights. So yeah, very, very small seeds that go back to that to start from. And we have been lucky over the years. We've had some great allies that we've counted on. Sutonians would have helped us out a lot. We're now at Mary's at the minute, so we're continuing looking for our own home ground. It's one of our big aspirations to have. And like any young club, that is like the nirvana. That's where we're looking to get to. After 2008, we would have had success in 2010 Bingham Cup. We won the Bingham Bowl. 2011 for me was another momentous one, where we actually won our first Leinster League match. I can't say that we beat Trinity. I know it was a very low level match, but at the time playing in that game, it was everybody's very happy just to get that there off your back and say we've won in the Leinster League now. The club have continued to grow from then. You pick out big key points for me. One's personal. One would be in 2015. Again, it evolved around the Union Cup, one of the travelling tournaments. A lot of players would have went to vote for the marriage referendum, and the tournament happened at exactly the same time. So the hosts were very kind. They postponed all our matches to the second part of the day. So whenever we arrived, we had to play 2 matches back to back. Luckily enough, we won them, but it was, I think we evolved together, and you see society evolve and our clubs evolved beside it. So
Yeah.
I just get great parallels from that. And it was a nice feeling to have the other players, the other clubs asking you about what was going on back in your country, a little small place called Ireland, and how you were being so progressive. And it was a nice feeling to have at that tournament to get there. I say that brings us up into a modern day history. So 2018 and 2019, the club would have attended Amsterdam for Bingham Cup. I think it's the first time they ever had three teams at the tournament. And that again rolled into Union Cup, which we would have hosted in 2019. Hosting any tournament is great for the club because it gives it energy, it allows it to grow. And without our members, we're nothing. So a lot has to be said about that. We had 3 teams in that. It was a great tournament. The committee, everybody that worked behind it, put on a great show, as they did in 2008. So I don't want to say nobody's done a better job. We're all building on the work that others have done before us. And we can only be thankful for all the work that the prior committees, prior members have all put in. So we're going forward. This is where we're at the minute. COVID hit. I know we had great ideas for 2020, but we're now getting into 21. And like you would have touched on there, inclusion. The club are trying to bring in tag, and we're trying to bring in our own tag tournament because a big part of our club is to offer something to all of society, offer something to everybody that wants to learn. If you're a beginner and you find it a safe place to play, fantastic. Trying to build up our female membership. Whoever's welcome, please come along. You can join us. Check the website out. You'll get details there, and somebody from the committee will come and get in touch with you to do it. So, sorry, I started to babble there.
No, can I just say, where do I sign up? You just sold it to me, right? that was a really good elevator pitch. I'm totally in. Like, the idea of those competitions just being readily available and being able to actually have that opportunity to travel, meet other international clubs. And I love that piece, what you were saying, Eamon, about that connection, even around the marriage referendum, how they were interested and there was support and they were curious to see, and there was support there from the actual organisers that you could be able to do the both things that you loved and you felt were very important for you as players and for the club. So look, that's brilliant to get an insight. Head coach Morrow, is that your affectionate name that people call you? Yes.
You're just on mute, Morrow.
Yeah, I think my mother's probably the only one that calls me by my real name now at this stage. Yeah, it was a nickname that has landed with me since my first training session 20 odd years ago, and it's just stuck ever since. So yeah, I've been called worse in my time, and I'm sure I definitely would be called worse before my time is over. But yeah, we'll go with that.
Don't worry, we all have. I can relate to that. You only get called your Christian name if something's went horribly wrong or if you're in trouble.
Absolutely.
Look, I know I said earlier and alluded to the fact that you're the face of the Warrior Wednesdays. Just tell us a bit more about that outside of training. Like, what are those other benefits? If I was to sign up to the Emerald Warriors today or tomorrow, you know, what I'm signing up to be a part of a rugby club, but what are those other benefits that the rugby club offer?
Well, that was one thing we wanted to look at. Obviously, with COVID hidden, we obviously want to give value to our members and keep them engaged and keep communications between each other. Like, the last 14 months have probably been very tough for a lot of people, isolation and stuff. So we really wanted to reach out to them. So one of the initiatives that we did was a Warrior Wednesday. So basically, myself and one of our assistant coaches, Finbar, were politely nominated to become the face of Warrior Wednesday. So we do a recorded session on Instagram, and it's just nothing too heavy. It's all body weights. It's just another platform and another avenue for people to stay in touch with people and for a bit of engagement online. We've lived through our screens for the last 14 months. So it's to try and keep people active as much as possible during these tough times, and hopefully we're nearly at the end of them and we're going through it. We've also offered then other areas of yoga sessions. We've done a 4-week yoga class. We've had a Zoom call with a PT session and a strength and conditioning coach. So we're kind of given a lot of different avenues for players, members, the community to be engaged with us when we can't be on a pitch or we can't see each other every Saturday at a game or every week at training session. So we've really worked hard on different ways. We've done different events throughout the year as well. Phil hosted an amazing bingo tournament at the start of the lockdowns. I think we 2 or 3 of them. And it was just it was a bit of fun. I think all of us we're probably fed up with Zoom now at this stage. We can all kind of say that. But for the fun side of it, we wanted to kind of keep that engagement with our committee members and our members and the community. So it wasn't just us signing off and coming back when things reopened. So we love trying new things. We love taking a different route, giving more to the community as well, doing partnerships with the likes of GCN, Sporting Pride Ireland. We've done a Devils challenge for the Dublin Devils. We've taken them on the Zoom class. I put them through their paces, and then their coach put their lads through the paces. So it's been a bit of fun as well. We've got to know each other over the last couple of months as well, and we'll continue going forward. We do a Oscar Wilde Cup, which we'll hold now in July. We'll play them in football, and they'll play us in tag rugby. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out.
It sounds like you guys are really great at like that collaboration piece, linking in with other clubs, local authorities, you know, organizations, and that seems to be a big piece in the wellbeing program, that you guys are really interested and invested in actually the well-being of the person behind the player.
Big time, yeah. We know rugby is a contact sport and it's great, but we want to make sure that mental health is everyone's comfortable with that. Financial well-being, nutrition. We have a line of videos coming out now in the next couple of weeks of nutrition side of things. So it's not just rugby twice a week, but we are all a family. We're all mates. We're all friends. You develop friendships that last lifetime. So as a club, we want to be given back to the community and back to our members in every way we possibly can. So we'll come up with initiatives of like our well-being. So we do a fly on a Friday, and we've done sexual health, we've done mental health, financial health, and the more we can, and always open to other ideas and other collaborations, because we live on our phones, we live in communication and technology, and it's so simple to develop it with each other these days, and that's the way it's going to go forward.
Yeah, it's definitely a smart move, and I'd say there's a lot of areas that you've covered there that a lot of clubs probably would love to get sort of top tips on, probably stealing all your good ideas, but just sounds like another way of including people. And actually, I think that piece of well-being and getting to know actually the people behind the playing is that bit which engages people and keeps them, retained at the club. Thanks so much, Mauro. Phillip, I'm going to move on to you now. I'm really interested just to get a bit more information about your personal story within rugby and then how you found the Warriors.
Yeah, so nice to see everyone tonight. So I kind of started off playing rugby nearly just shy of 20 years ago now, when I was only a little babby. I think I was about 5 or 6 when my parents threw me into a rugby jersey and said, right, off you go. I come from a pretty big rugby family, so I've played rugby all down through the years. I played for schools for a brief time. I played for Munster underage for another brief time. And I gave up rugby when I was about 16, 17. I had a pretty serious injury, but that was neither here nor there. So I kind of moved to Dublin then about 5 years ago, and I kind of wanted to get back on the pitch. Always watched games, loved rugby, all that, but I just didn't know how to go about it. I was a gay man, or I am a gay man, so I didn't know exactly where to go. I'd seen the Emerald Warriors on Facebook and had heard quite a lot about them. So I was like, that sounds like a great fit. So I just kind of went to a training session one random night in October, nearly 3 years ago now, and it was the best decision I made. It was just like as Mauro kind of mentioned already, it's just one big family. Since the very first person I met, showing me into the changing rooms, showing me out to the pitch, kind of looking after me from my very first night, and it's just gone amazing. As the guys have touched on already, the events that we host, like the friends that I've made, has just been phenomenal. It's great, yeah.
Yeah, so you went from playing and it's that re-engagement piece back into the sport again and finding somewhere where you're comfortable playing, but also, like as we've just heard, all the opportunities that come along with being a member of the club. I suppose from chatting to you guys beforehand, how progressive you are in moving forward. You're never content with where you're at right now. How can we do things better, bigger, better? How can we make this more diverse, more inclusive, and also have great crack while we're doing it? That's definitely a vibe that I'm getting from you all. I know the club has big plans moving forward. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Phillip?
Yeah, so I suppose just to go back to what you were saying, that we're always looking to the future. We always want one of the biggest goals of the club is to get more members of the LGBT community active through sport, whether that's through contact rugby or, like the guys have said already, the new tag rugby that we have coming up shortly. We're always looking to the future. We've just developed a strategic plan for the club. So that was kind of through speaking to all the members, speaking to various different people, I suppose looking at other organisations from in Ireland, outside of Ireland, and rugby clubs to see what they're doing, just to make sure that the club is heading in the right direction. So we kind of went through a different couple of processes, speaking to our members and just finding out what our members wanted, because at the end of the day, we wouldn't have a club without our members. So we spoke with the members, done a survey, and built this plan covering 5 key areas on where we want to be in the next couple of years. So we've developed this full plan on where the club is going, and like that, we're always looking to the future, looking for the next kind of the next thing to do, and like that, the biggest one for us at the moment is the tag rugby that we have coming up. So we're kind of using that, I suppose, as a gateway to rugby. And I know people always mention diversity and inclusion, and they always think of we need more gay people in our club or whichever, and that's probably, it's not exactly diverse and inclusive in its own right. So our whole strategy, I suppose, is getting, members with disabilities, members of the wider community, really kind of including everybody in the process and getting them active through the tag rugby is our next big thing, yeah.
Brilliant. And the women, of course, that seems to be an area that you guys are obviously just sitting here thinking, women's rugby, a passion and love of mine. I know that's something that you guys just don't want, because I suppose inclusion, diversity are words that are kind of thrown around a lot now, like really buzzwords. And it's about you guys sort of living out your values and kind of not just getting, pegged into this small area and that's just what you're about, because I think from what we're hearing here, that your membership is diverse and you want to kind of include on that. Just can I hear a bit more just about maybe a couple of those pillars that you want to include within the strategy, like focus areas of the clubs?
Yeah, so I mean, the 5 key areas that we have, Eliza, are kind of 5 different goals that we have, and that's on the performance of the club, the well-being and duty of care, research and events, sustainability of the club, and we want to be the voice of diversity and inclusion in sport. And I suppose to break that down a little bit further, under each of the pillars, under performance, we just want the club to perform to the highest standards, both on and off the pitch. That's linking in with the members, developing the members, as I've said, on and off the pitch. That's it. I mean, your members, if they're great off the pitch, they're going to perform 10 times better on the pitch. And look, we're here to win at the end of the day. Who doesn't love a good win? And moving on from that then, well-being and duty of care, the second pillar, as Maura's touched on there, our Felonia events are very, very important to us. We do a Felonia Friday, where we do link in with the members, and we do these events where there's promoting physical health or mental health. And that's always, I suppose, for our members at the core, but we always invite members of the wider community into those events as well. And I suppose it's actually quite important to mention there that our Felonia event is supported heavily by Mars Pharmacy, which gives us the kind of footing to do these events, because without that support, we wouldn't be able to have such a promising, I suppose, prospect for the events. So those events are amazing. If you ever get the chance to link in with an event, Eliza, I would definitely recommend it. Moving on from that then, research and events. I suppose promoting and encouraging research on the LGBT plus community. So we do have a big goal to work, I suppose, get more facts on I suppose the amount of members that are in sport or members of the LGBT community that are in or out of sport. Sustainability of the club, which is probably one of the big focuses at the moment, and one of the long-term goals of the club is, where's the club going to live in the future? Future generations, are they going to experience a move of home, or will they have that home bit of land to play rugby in its various forms in an inclusive and safe environment? So that's another big one for the club. And then the last one that I kind of touched on is the voice of diversity and inclusion in sport. Now, I always think that we do a cracking job of this currently, but like that, we can always build on it. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory. We want to reduce the barriers to participation in rugby and sport for minority groups, and that's through rugby in its various forms. Yeah.
And I suppose another question of mine is, how do you guys have a life outside of this club? Because there is so much going on. Honestly, I think to have the foresight to actually be thinking about these things and getting ahead of it, really. Whereas some clubs, I know there's a lot of pressures on volunteering and commitments, and obviously through COVID into the mix, I know a lot of the rugby clubs were worried about, re-engagement of players and volunteers coming back. Do you think that piece, that engagement work that you did, Mauro, during lockdown time, do you think that will stand to you guys moving forward into the future in relation to just having volunteers there to be able to keep this good work happening?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that was one thing, and the feedback we've got from the players is they're all ready to go. I'm constantly getting texts, when we back. So there is an eager to get back, and it's great. And we've done different things. Like we did a step challenge. So we broke into groups of 3, and we put a target of, I think it was 500,000 steps in 3 weeks per group. And I think in the first week, all 3 groups smashed that. So we ended up putting a target of 5 million steps. And over the 3 weeks, I think we got 26 million steps or something outrageous. But it worked because it kept people engaged. It wasn't gym and it wasn't exercise. It was a bit of fun. It was, let's go for a walk, have a chat. And it really worked to kind of meet new people. That was the biggest thing that we found. We had new members join, and they hadn't got to know the rest of the club because we were in positive 15 when we were training. And then obviously rugby came to a full stop in September, October. So we had new lads who joined, the new members who joined, who had never met anyone else, probably haven't met Eamon or Phil on the pitch because we were all in our own little pods. So we really wanted to link all our members up with each other. So I think it worked really well, and it kind of kept that engagement of the players. it kept everyone in a bit of a buzz. Then obviously the competitive side came out, so there was people doing. I think one player did 80,000 steps in one day alone.
Whoa.
It was phenomenal. We were actually going, how? He was like, just did 10 hours of walking. He just walked all day. And I was like, this is crazy, crazy. But definitely competitive streak. But no, it worked really well, and I definitely think we will have a big turnout when we're back. Obviously, we do launch tag now in a couple of days. And I just think people want to get back out, want to get back socializing, want to get out on the pitch and have a few beers and the social side and stuff. And then obviously we then focus on into the season when we get the green light for that. So yeah, really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to getting to see everyone. We haven't seen each other in a couple of months.
Yeah.
So it's been fun.
Yeah, I think that re-engagement piece of people actually having social interaction again and us getting out of living in this little box that we've been living in. I know I've been living in this room for over a year now, and it definitely is amazing. We're very lucky in the north that we've been allowed out and are on that level of playing again. And it's just really good for the soul to have that social interaction. Yes, the physical health side, but the mental health bit definitely is off the charts when you can have a bit of crack and throw the ball around. I think, look, now is a great time to bring in David Mckay from the IRFU. David, from an IRFU perspective, these guys radiate best practice in inclusion and diversity within their club, just to name a few of the things they're doing brilliantly. But what top tips can some other clubs across the country pick up from the Emerald Warriors?
I think it's really looking past the fact that they're a rugby club and looking for that person and finding what the needs of the community is, because I think sometimes we think of rugby as a contact game that we see on TV, but for me it's not just that, it's the health and wellbeing side that rugby club is. It's the walking group, it's the walking rugby, it's the mixed ability, it's disability tag, it's all these different aspects of what a rugby club really is in the community. So I think when you look at sort of the Emerald Warriors as one of our a role model, but also so many of our clubs are doing such great work in this area and how to engage with their members and outside of people that don't actually know the rugby clubs. So I know like the walking program that we've got going at the minute that's opened up to the wider community. It's such an important thing for the IRFU, and I suppose it's really living by the values that we have within the IRFU and making sure that's sort of the starting block is like we want to for ourselves, but for our provinces and for all of our clubs to sort of live by the values of respect, integrity, inclusivity, fun and excellence. So these are the sort of key things that we sort of want all of our clubs to do. And look, ideally, I suppose for myself, I wouldn't have a job because you wouldn't need the disability and inclusion officer, as we'd all be doing such a great work. So luckily I do have a job. I'm not quite too much of that bit. But I think it's such an important thing that a lot of our clubs are doing such great work. I can know the Cork Hellhounds had training last night and the Belfast Aslands as well. But there's so many clubs that are inclusive, and I suppose it's just making sure that we put our hands up and tell people what we're actually really doing out there. Because I know for me, rugby is such an important part of my life. It's not just my job, but it's what I do Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and on Saturday watching it on TV. So I think rugby for me is something that gives me friends. It's such an important thing for my mental health, and there's so many other aspects that people sort of forget about when they pick up a play ball or go to the rugby club. That's such an important thing for everyone.
Yeah, I think that piece that the guys had chatted about earlier about that membership engagement and consultation, instead of, I know sometimes clubs think, oh, this is what they want and assume, whereas you guys are going out, and a lot of clubs are doing this a lot better now, but actually going out and saying, you know, look, what do you want? Because, you know, we're here to meet your needs and you are the club. So that consultation piece, I think, can be so worthwhile, because then when some of those things play out and you develop them, you have happier players, happier volunteers that are more engaged. We have some comments coming through that there's some people that find a lot of the rugby clubs that they've actually been working with, they feel they are very inclusive already. And I suppose it's building on that. If, like you guys earlier, we're here, but we want to just take it to here. So I think that bit of shared learning for anyone that's listening around different things that you've heard this evening about what are one or two small things I can bring back to the club that can encourage these different areas? David, just on that also, like, what support can the IRFU offer LGBTQ plus players across Ireland?
I suppose the big support is, like, I hate the term, but an ally in the sense of myself and being someone that you can contact. And let's say you can't access the Emerald Warriors or the Aslans or the team in Cork, that you can contact me and, like, I'll be your buffer, and I will see what areas of rugby you want to get into. Like, contact is one form of rugby. We have tag leagues, we also have touch leagues, and I suppose it's putting you in contact with that key person. I suppose, like Phillip said, if someone coming around and showing you the club and showing you the changing rooms and where to go, like, we have great volunteer coordinators within clubs and also great, like, volunteers within our club system that will be happy to help. And I suppose even for myself, like, I know rugby, but I changed rugby clubs this season, and I had to send a message into Instagram and be like, can I come down to training, please? And them giving me the information, and me being the new person, not knowing what my role was within the IRFU, and just sort of rocking up in a pair of boots and well, I would say tight top, but that's more lockdown weight. But trying to meet people, and I suppose for me that was the big thing. Is like people don't really care what I do as a job, but I wanted to sort of meet new friends and get to know the community that I now live in. So I think, if people want to join a rugby club and you don't have access to the Emerald Warriors, contact me. I can put you in contact with the best person that's in the club. And look, if it's an excuse for me to get out of the house and go for a drive, I wouldn't mind coming down and do a touch session as well. So you have someone that's new with you, and we then have a chat afterwards to see what the best way is. So look, I'll throw my email address into the chat function at the end, and happy to sort of be that buffer and be that sort of person to come with you and give it a go as well.
Yeah, it sounds like the Emerald Warriors have recruited 2 new people already tonight. So that's a success? I think just, David, when you were chatting about that maybe we can all relate to, being new or putting yourself out there, there's a vulnerability around it. And I suppose it's that step that there's someone there who has information that makes it less of a step into the unknown. That kind of is that, arm around the shoulder, well, 2 meters apart for COVID reasons at the moment, but someday we'll get back to that. And actually there to meet you in the car park or to be on the phone, have a chat and just take away that fear of the unknown and actually say, look, there's great opportunity here. So I think that's really important, David, that you're part of that process. So for anyone listening, David's going to pop in his email address into the chat and we'll be able to get that out for any type of signposting to different clubs or any queries that you might have. So that's perfect. Okay, so we're moving on to our next section, which is that visibility of our LGBTQ plus community within rugby. Okay, so I'm going to just pop across here to you, maybe Eamon. Why do you think there are very few out male athletes in rugby, both maybe at club level, but also at that elite level of the game?
So it's a tough one, really. I think I've sort of touched on it. I think society's evolving all the time. I think I say our club has ran parallel with it. I think I touched on the referendum vote, as being part of it. It takes a certain bravery for it to happen, and you will have the certain guys that have come out. It's always at the end of their career or after their career. It's an individual question, really, as to what to do. So I find that one really tough to answer. I think we all have our own journey, which we all go on. Mine's going to be different from Phil's, which is different from Darren's.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough, I say, I'm now married. I got married in 2016, after the year afterwards. Me and my husband went to rugby training back in 2007 together, so we've been together for 16 years. I've always been accepted with my family. I've been very lucky in that. Yeah, you're nervous as hell telling somebody your story, but that's just owning it. But I wouldn't want to comment or sort of put reasons into other people's mouth, but it would be great to have another role model. So all those that do it, I doff my cap. That way it takes a lot to do. So Good question, and you caught me there, Eliza.
Yeah, no, do you know what? I
Sometimes.
think it is a really hard question, but I think it's just one of those. It's a topic that comes up a lot, and it's out there, and we would be very naive to think that there are no gay men. I know from female sport that it seems to not be as big an issue, that there seems to be more of comfort around openness and inclusion. And I don't know, maybe that's just part of a female thing. Phillip, what are your thoughts around that? I think it's something, as Eamon had said, it is very personal. But what would be the benefits of actually seeing more male out role models within the sporting world?
Yeah, I think there's two things there, Eliza. As you said there, I think we definitely know a lot more female rugby players who are out, say, throughout their career. And to go back onto Eamon's point, I think with the men in rugby, people kind of do it at the end of their career or just after. So like that, you wouldn't want to kind of speculate as to the reasons why. But I think if there was more out professional rugby players throughout their career, I think we would see a lot more, I suppose, LGBT youth take up the sport or get involved or feel more comfortable joining a club. Because that role model will be there. So if they saw, say if you take Gareth Thomas, for example, I mean, I know that was one person who I looked up to, I suppose, and knew about for quite some time. And I just think like it gives somebody a bit more comfort in knowing, hang on, if this person is a member of the gay community or whichever, just makes it a bit more comfortable for them. So I think it's all about being that role model. And if there is, I suppose it might happen yet that there could be some international rugby player or a lot more of them come out and be more comfortable throughout their career. It would just be great for the younger generation looking up.
Yeah, I think it's that thing in general, to have a role model that you can relate to, that kind of can lead the way in a more visible position and create awareness and acceptance more so on that kind of visible level, of that elite level within male sport. And it can be really beneficial. David, this must be like the hard question section. Get everyone ready. David, I have a question for you. And we've had various questions coming in this evening, just around the area of transgender athletes. So look, in the last few years, we've seen heightened discussion around transgender athletes within various sports. I suppose from an IRFU point of view, where do you guys sit on that?
I suppose just really just to clarify, so World Rugby came out with their policy on transgender players, and that was back in October. And I suppose the IRFU respect the guidelines that they set down, but that was for international players and international tournaments. But we believe that a more flexible approach is needed for our domestic game. So we have our own transgender guidance and policy that's on our website, and which provides us a way to be inclusive to transgender players in a fair manner. So it's done by a case-by-case basis, and it's player safety is paramount. But what I'll do is I've seen a few questions come into the comments there. I will add our policy and just the link to it in the chat function. And what I'll say is I'll put that with my email, and you can email me directly if you want to have any questions or you want to ask anything about it. But I say it's private and confidential, and it's we try to be as inclusive as we can, and our guidelines are there, so we follow the guidelines. And that is one part of the contact rugby. But again, there's also tag, touch, volunteering. There's so many other aspects of what rugby offers other than just contact. So look, I'll put that policy in a second. I can just click and copy and paste it. And look, happy to take any questions in a more private setting as well. So yeah, that's where we stand.
Yeah, look, it's just good to get that kind of stance and insight, because I know we have a lot of questions, and it has been like a really hot topic of discussion throughout society over the last few years, with a lot of opinions being thrown everywhere. So it's nice to be able to get that, David. Thank you. Mauro, David chatted about tag rugby there. Tell me a bit more about what's happening, the details of where I need to be to join this tag team, where it's happening, what time, and what do I need to bring with me?
So as the lad said, we are launching our first kind of tag tournament ourselves, our in-club tag, obviously open to everyone. So it's 21st in Grange Gorman. Times and stuff will be confirmed. The best thing to do is obviously to follow our social media. All the information, we're doing a big press release now in the next couple of days on it. We're doing it for like several reasons. It's to get people back into it. It's people who may not be comfortable playing full contact rugby. It obviously adds then the female side to it. And it's open to everyone. It's enjoyable. It's fun. Look, hopefully the weather's decent. We get out for a few beers and a bit of fun and stuff on it. So it's definitely really exciting for us as a club to have this alongside our full contact rugby. So we're, as we say, we're trying to attract all members of the community, a wider community, not just full contact rugby. We're pushing hard on tag, and even in training ourselves, we do a bit of touch and stuff. So it's not just, we're not beating each other up at contact training every week, but the tag now is another avenue for us to push further out there.
Perfect. Okay, I need to get that in.
It really falls in with our strategic development, the sustainability of the club. I know that the members of the club have met with the 10-night team, so it's open to everybody. I really want to push the tag in that. Please come along, reach out. This is for everybody, and you never know, Eliza, we may get a women's full contact team out of it if we've enough interest. So, again, we're looking to build. Everything is on the table. We want to have everyone welcome. So it really is key that if you are interested at all, and we hope touch is going to be the start of it. It's going to get everybody fit again after having COVID for so long. So it's going to ease us back in to try to be able to run. So yeah, anybody that's interested, just put it out there. Please come along. We'd love to see new faces. It's great that it's a city centre location. One of our problems, we're not a parochial club. We're spread all throughout the city. So having somewhere city centre, it's easy to get to for everybody, we hope. So it really will just help bring everybody together, and you'll meet new friends for life, hopefully. That's one of the big pluses of it. Sorry to put on there, Eliza.
No, look, that's fantastic. And I think, we have similar opportunities with different leagues that are ran up here through tag with different clubs and teams. And honestly, obviously, yes, the physical health side of it just sounds like now I've kind of retired. I'm more about the social part. So I'm just like, how can I meet new people, potentially have beverage of choice afterwards, maybe a bit of pizza, a bit of crack, and sort of tap into a new network. So the tag rugby seems to be brilliant for that. And for people from a business side of view, I know a lot of friends who have never played any sport had got into tag rugby through their business or their organisation where they work, and it gave them a taster to be able to continue with tag rugby, but a lot of clubs didn't have that option. So that's fantastic that you guys are running that as an option within the club. So I suppose what coming to the end towards the last question really is, Mauro, what needs to be done to make rugby and rugby clubs more diverse and an inclusive space across Ireland?
I think a big thing for most of the coaches was knowledge and education. So for us as players, as coaches, we obviously develop, and I think even my own club as well, like it's for them to get experience with and work with the IRFU in terms of education players on LGBT plus members, trans players and stuff. It's a big, I think people may fear it and go, I don't know, where I think with the support, and it's great support to have from Sport Pride Ireland, GCN, IRFU and stuff, everyone's willing to help. Everyone wants to educate themselves. As coaches, we've obviously done as many coaching courses as we can, not just rugby, but like mental health and every little area we can. So I think when clubs see and the value of it for what we are doing, I think clubs are going to go, yeah, this is something that we can do. It's not a massive amount of work that has to be done to it. And it just gives that support to clubs and to coaches and to players and to members that there is more players out there that can play rugby. And I think the lads will all say, like, we've all different stories. Like, not every story has a happy endings in terms of some people might never play rugby. So we want to obviously have all the clubs in the country open to everyone so they can join, and there's no fear of joining of discrimination or sexual orientation or anything like that. And I think we're definitely on the right road to it. I know clubs are great, but it's just adding that next level of education to it.
Yeah, and I think that's a lesson maybe to learn from you guys. Like, what are we doing well? But you know what? we can always do something better, and how can we do that? Mauro, tell me a wee bit, because we chatted before around your first tournament that you had went to, and you rocked up with your boots, not knowing what to expect.
Yeah, Eamon was on that tour, so he knows exactly. I kind of knew the Warriors briefly, and my former coach was involved with the Warriors as coach, and he said, "Would you come over to a tournament?" And I went, "Yeah, no worries." I didn't know what it was, and I said, "Yeah, I'll go." It was a rugby tournament. Cool. Where was it? I think it was in Manchester or Birmingham. And so I got the red-eye fly out, told my parents I was going to London for the weekend, rocked in with a pair of boots and a bag. And I remember arriving at the venue, and there was just so many people there. So, like, it was actually electric. The atmosphere was electric at 8:30 in the morning. We played, I think, 6-7 games of rugby. We were absolutely shat from it. Of course, we all went out on the beer every night, as you do. But it was just, everyone was the same. Everyone was just there for a good time. Okay, there was a competitive side to us, like every team has. We all wanted to win. But it was just, once the tournament was over, everyone met. There was a big closing party and stuff. And it was just, it's still to this day one of the best trips I've ever been on. I've been on a few of them now. As a club, we're getting ready. We're planning to go to Birmingham, the Bingham Cup in Ottawa next year in 2022,
Wow.
which will be the next big one for us. So, as Eamon touched on earlier on, obviously every year we grow and we expand, and we're really pushing ourselves now again to set another big target when we go there. So, on the back of Union Cup in 2019, this will be the first tournament that happened. So, all fingers crossed to be 3 or 4 teams again, and even the newer players in the team, they haven't experienced a tournament yet, and obviously we kind of tell them the stories of what it's like and stuff, and you can just see the level of excitement going, okay, I need to be on these. I need to be on one of these tours. So, yeah, there's something to experience.
Yeah, no, I am. I'm seriously suffering from FOMO here. I'm kind of like, could we get this women's team set up and developed enough so we could get to Ottawa in time? That's what I'm thinking here.
You just talked yourself into a new job there. So,
brilliant.
Done.
You know what? I didn't know if I was enjoying Belfast anyway. I think Dublin could be a new spot for me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Phillip, just to sort of end this, I think if there's people listening out there that maybe don't come from a sporting background or have had a negative experience of sport for whatever reason, you know, what are some of, and like people always think it's people that aren't, like people have always said to me, Eliza, you're running after a ball on the pitch. Seriously, what's that about? I'm like, no, it's so much more. So tell me skills and qualities that you've got, because you've been playing this since a 5-year-old back in Cork, your parents throwing you into it, those skills and qualities, resilience, those things that happen that you don't even notice happening. How have they benefited you?
I think, say for me, it's like I always kind of say that like everyone should be involved in some sort of a team sport or team atmosphere, anyway, just because you're kind of dealing with people and all that. But I think it creates that kind of environment, like you are that bit more, I suppose, outgoing or a bit more open to trying new things or whatever. But to go back on your point there about, I suppose, joining the people that wouldn't be, I suppose, sport inclined or have any of those qualities, that's one of the, I suppose, big things that we sing about in the Emerald Warriors, is that on our open days, the majority of people that turn up have zero experience with rugby. Like Mauro, you might agree with me here that we're kind of nearly surprised when somebody turns up that does have rugby experience, which is kind of mad. But like that, it's a whole gateway to rugby. We teach everybody the basic skills. But then again, Eliza, we have members that don't turn up to play rugby at all. They just turn up for the social aspect, to meet new people, to get more friends, which was one of the reasons I joined the club as well. I didn't have any kind of, I suppose, a group of friends in Dublin. And when I joined the Warriors, it created that for me. So it's getting into the club, I think, is and having no rugby experience isn't, I suppose, a block in your way. In fact, it's nearly better if you don't. In that way, if you are trying to, I suppose, get a more outgoing or whichever,
Yeah, no, I think that's just something that people have maybe through PE in school or had a feeling of being left out, or it wasn't a place for them. And I think it's really important to actually get down to what it's about, and actually that bit of network, support, like a brotherhood that you guys have chatted about before, that's created there, and a new support network when you're in somewhere that's new and different from home and you're feeling maybe a little vulnerable. So guys, this has been amazing. I know, like, it just sounds like, but honestly, the work you're doing is, I honestly don't know how you have time in the evenings for anything else. I'm glad you fitted this time in with us tonight to share your story. Look, I just want to take an opportunity right now. I think we've answered a lot of the questions in the chat box just throughout our conversation. We have. Perfect. Thanks for everyone for tuning in. I want to just say a huge thank you to Sport and Pride and Karina for pulling this together, and our friends at GCN Magazine for their continuous support and creating a platform to make these discussions more visible. Thank you to the guys from the Emerald Warriors and to David and the IRFU for their input. And look, that's us, folks. I've enjoyed this discussion this evening. Everybody take care, be safe, and we're nearly out of this now. So just hang in there. Okay, good night and thank you.
Thanks very much, Eliza, for that.
Bye, guys.
Appreciate it. Right, take care.
Bye, guys. Thanks.